All right, so why don't we go with somebody who has been with us for a while and is working on a great novel. We get a lot of pleasure out of hearing the chapters each meeting. Duanne Walton, who is from Morris. Duanne is writing a murder mystery called the Dr. Tickle. Not terrible, the torturous Dr. Tickle. I'm telling you, it's great. It's about a guy who kills people by tickling them to death. I won't tell you anymore. You're going to have to buy the book. Duane's going to share a couple of short readings with us tonight. Duanne?
He posted that we were going to do this. He said, get out your tap shoes and top hats. Well, I don't have any tap shoes, but... I just want to say I am so thankful that this group is here, because it has been a tremendous, tremendous outlet for me and a valve for me. And it's nice to have feedback on your writing that's a little more substantial than, dude, that's awesome. About this time last year, a fellow who writes a blog that I frequently read asked his readers to send in their top 10 favorite Christmas toys of all time. This is what I sent to him. This isn't a top 10 list because there's only one answer for me, and not subject to change. Star Wars action figures. I didn't even get into Star Wars when it first came out. My taste in sci-fi was very selective. If some unusually large creature didn't cause large amounts of property damage, I had no interest. But C-3PO did catch my interest. A golden robot that spoke with an English accent? What a concept. I saw his figure in the store and my folks got it for me. I remember the time I had unsticking his arms and legs so they could move. I was scared I'd break them off. Of course, I figured he'd need his little buddy to keep him company. And then I figured I needed the Jawa to keep them both in line. At this time, I read the Star Wars storybook and became hooked. Now I had to have everything. I started collecting in earnest. I got the Death Star for Christmas and moved all my figures in. Of course, I eventually used up all the pegs that held the figures in place, so I put everyone where I could. The Death Star became quite crowded. I started having my own Star Wars adventures. Of course, they were nowhere near the level of the movies. Mostly the plots consisted of rescuing someone from Darth Vader, rescuing Han from the Cantina Gang, as I dubbed the 4 aliens, or the Bounty Hunters. The trash compactor regularly overflowed and the trash monster got loose. I wanted to try my hand at stop-motion filming using our movie camera. You can blame Ray Harryhausen for that. But Dad wouldn't allow me to waste film on my stupid toys. I found out years later that we had the wrong type of film camera for it anyway. It became clear that I'd never get every toy that Kenner came out with. My parents never ceased to remind me. So I focused on the action figures. I eventually stopped my adventures with them and just focused on collecting them. I got the original collector's cases and 2 Darth Vader collector's cases and placed them all in them. I occasionally displayed them at the Morris, Illinois library, much to the delight of the kids. One guy offered me a lousy $50 for them and I declined. No other action figure line held my interest, but when no new Star Wars figures were in, I'd read the files on the backs of the G.I. Joe figures. That appealed to me, giving them names and backstories. I did end up buying Destro. I only got figures from other lines if the characters appealed to me. The line finally did run its course. I collected all of them except for 3. The original Snaggletooth, the tall one in the blue suit, Luke as a stormtrooper from the first movie coming out in the last wave of figures, and Yak Face, who was only released in Argentina. I put them away, only taking them out for the occasional library display, but I knew they'd be worth a lot. 2 decades and several hard knocks later found me spending most of the summer of 2005 unemployed. I had to sell my collection sooner than I expected. Most dealers were unprepared to see a nearly complete collection in such good condition, and most were unprepared to buy them. Finally, a collectibles store in Chicago bought half of them for less than they're worth. That's the first thing I was told. You will almost never get what the price guides say they're worth. The rest I sold to a lady in an antique mall. It felt very strange having to sell them, like I was losing a large chunk of my life. I do wonder sometimes where they ended up and if they'd been as well cared for as I had them. I've only collected 2 other action figure lines as closely, Batman the Animated Series and Doctor Who. But I'll always remember where it started, not so long ago, in a galaxy not so far away.
Yeah.